3, 2, 1, go! Nice!
Ooh.
Yes! Whatever.
Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Hello everyone, I'm Oon Shu An and I'm your
Hi.
host for a brand new series called Real Talk. In this series, we'll be featuring some really talented filmmakers, writers, actors, directors, and they've all been nominated at the 6th edition of the National Youth Film Awards. This is the very first time the awards are going digital and it'll be on the 25th of July. For the very first episode, we'll be talking to some very talented young actors who have been nominated in the Best Actor, Best Actress category. How would you describe your character's journey through this movie?
In the first start of the film, she was quite calm and collected. But then as she progresses throughout the film, she found out that she doesn't want to live in that dysfunctional pattern anymore. So that's when she took a stand and decided that, you know what, I'm gonna not exactly tell her off, but I'm gonna try to break this chain of pattern that I don't like to live my whole life.
If I could sum up Coda in a sentence, it's more of a reflection of the scar of suicide, the scar left behind by suicide. And as scars go, these things never fully heal. And so you definitely get a sense of that throughout this show. It's not the most uplifting show, but I think it's a profound show that really help more people understand how families go through these things. So Isaac, the character that I play, you can imagine him as the dutiful son. He is someone who yearns for his family to return to normalcy. If you watch the film, you sort of get a sense that he is this man of few words, doesn't really say much.
What are some of the things that you learned during the process of researching this film?
Still Standing is about the iconic pole bank building. It tracks the very start of one of our pioneer architects, Tan Ching Siong, and the story of how he came up with the idea for the pole bank building, and then all to the way to the end of the building last days, basically.
There's so much to be built in Singapore right now. You don't have to worry this being your last assignment.
This question is directed to Chris because in this particular scene where you are with your counselor, and the jump cut from, if I remember correctly, is from your face to you on top of the counselor physically abusing her. It was a shock to me and a very pleasant surprise. I was like, what? And I started laughing. I just want to sort of hear from you, how was the experience doing that? And well, I'm not sure whether you had to actually do it as Chris to somebody before, but as in your life, or was it like a shock to you to have to do that? How was the experience for that offset?
Okay, so it was hard, of course, because I have to keep a very straight face. It was harder because when we were doing the lines, right, my counselor said Eloise as Elua, and I'm supposed to be angry, right, but I lost it and I kept laughing. And Chris isn't someone who would pull on like that someone. So it was a challenge, and it was even difficult because from the bed to the counselor, it's actually quite a distance. So I had to then I had to go on her. And I was very afraid of hurting her because it's my first time meeting her, but I have to strangle her. It's oh my god. Yes.
Okay, Darren, from the time you got the script to the time that you shot, how much time was there?
That was quite short. That was I think no more than 2 weeks maybe.
Huh? So in 2 weeks you had to learn a new version of Hokkien and Cantonese as well as a new accent?
Yeah, in that way, yes, yeah. So it was really, because they were running on a very tight timeline, and I was like, okay, it's okay. I'm gonna try my best, and they were really helpful. So the whole team was really helpful, getting me to Skype with someone from who's residing in Hong Kong right now, who's a Singaporean who speaks Cantonese. And really on the spot during rehearsal, I'm Skyping with the person, going through the Cantonese lines, and then always checking back and forth, recording Hokkien lines, and then checking my AD, and just building all these things from in 2 weeks basically. So
that's incredible. Who else would like to share the hardest thing that you've had to do on set?
The most challenging thing I have to keep on, think for myself is timing. Timing for reactions is very important for me because on film sets, we will always have a lot of takes. And whenever we need to do a lot of emotional kind of scenes, we will need to kind of, consistently hold that emotion, and to give the best and the same amount of energy every single time is one of the toughest thing I have always, tried to hold on to and try to keep on learning and try to remind myself every single time. It's not easy. I think one of the best advice was to not talk in between scenes with your co-actors. Always stay in that character throughout.
Wow, not talk on set the whole time in between. So you just go off to a corner, find a place, and just sit down
and just focus and be in that character.
Actually, it really does help.
On set, everyone's pretty high energy. Everyone's like getting there. It's like, all right, let's film. And we have pretty fun cast who are, I would say, they're pretty friendly. We're all like having fun, like at the side, like in between takes. So we definitely didn't do any of that. No talking in between the scenes. So because we had a guitar there, we had like coffee. So there was like jamming. There was it was kind of a little too uplifting looking back, I think. But I would say that the challenge really was to sort of step aside toward the time of filming and sort of get into that zone. So my screen sister, Kalina, she was really impressive with this. She would go into a room and she would get really worked up inside. So there would be screaming, there would be some... because I was inside the room before at one point. So there was a lot of... there was a lot of angry energy, I would say. But she would just come out maybe like 5 minutes later and she'd be like, I'm ready.
Okay, Darren, do you have a question for someone?
One thing during the research that you take away regarding empathy, what would it be?
So I would say the people closest to, in the circle of the suicide victim would always be wondering whether they could have done anything different, to whether their little actions would have, changed the outcome, whether things would be a lot different from if that had been different. And this might actually apply to some of us who do have friends who are currently struggling with depression or having suicidal tendencies. We always want to be kind of careful because we're always worried that our lack of action at some points may lead to something terrible down the road. Okay, so Darren, the title of the film is called Still Standing. So what do you think is still standing?
I think the root for passion and change and innovation and the spirit will stay. And it will stay because nowadays we can, I thank God for having the technology of taking pictures and videos. So these will actually stay and go down the lines. And I hope the stories will continue to stay and go down the lines and inspire people along the way.
Okay, question for Hana.
Do you think it's possible that this new house would be sort of like just a house for Hana, and actually her real home is back home, where the true real world problems are, like with her family?
This is what home it is to her. But I think for Yasmin, she would want to have this perfect home of like, I have a mother, I have a father, I have a whole perfect family, that she's kind of avoiding things back home. So I think it's a lot of, it's up to the audience to kind of like, okay, what would you want? What is your perspective? What do you perceive when you see Yasmin a lot of layers that is played here, and we don't want to kind of dictate what is home to anyone. So that is why we kept it open. Yeah.
Okay, who would like to share in one word what acting is to you?
I think to me, in one word, would be a skill, like a talent skill. Because I feel that as much as everyone can act, like it's also like how well they can act to a certain extent. And it's hard also because it's like every time a director says like action, then you have to get into this like new skin that is not yours. But you have to be that, and it's not easy.
But I would go for vulnerability instead, because I feel that being vulnerable, being open to show people your emotion, your truest form is so important, and that also has a lot of truth in it. And when you are not lying to yourself, you're not lying to your character, and you're not trying to be another person instead of while building another character is so important.
All right, thank you so much, guys. Thank you for your sharing, and I wish you all the best at the awards. I wish you lots of skills, truth, vulnerability, and empathy. Take care, and remember to catch the National Youth Film Awards at 2020 on the 25th of July. Till next time, bye!